So today is Terrace Day. That's what they call it. It's a little balcony sunroom. And first we'll put up the walls, the interior walls. We're going to skip a step here, and then we are going to go ahead and do the frame and plants for that little balcony terrace thing. All right, and depending upon how long that takes, I'll do all of the plants because I think all of the plants might be located on that terrace. Okay, so let's begin. So they're telling me that if I look carefully at these pictures, they're showing me that this back wall should be all the way to the edge along the side of the floor. I'm paying attention to these joints. Okay, so I'm going to use tacky glue today, probably some super glue and just scissors. I don't think we're going to need anything else. So my decision here is to use a paintbrush to go ahead and apply this glue. And I want to apply from front to back. I don't know if you can tell, I have a guest crafter here who refuses to leave the room, and since there's not a door on this room, then our guest crafter is probably going to stay here. So, all right, so when I put down my wall, I want to be careful, kind of tipping back, kind of holding my finger along the edge, because I want this to be a nice, neat stick on here. And so let's move this way. I'm trying not to get a bunch of glue on the floor. So in order to do that, I want to really pay attention. One way, even these out, both sides. Hold that in place, kind of run my finger along the back to see if it's lined with the floor. And it is. And then, so I got a little bit of glue there because I pushed it up and then pushed it back. So I just hold that in place. Unfortunately, there's nothing else that I can do. Okay, this guest is going to have to move along. So holding this, adjusting as is needed to line up properly. So with doing a build, it's rather difficult for me to make sure you can see everything. And as we know, or I have discovered, you know, this kit needs a lot of glue. So I might need a little more, it looks like. And starting from the back and moving forward carefully, checking the back. And I'm going to hold that down, holding it down, checking to make sure everything is even. And I've got to press this fairly hard. Now, you might be thinking, hey, why don't you put the other wall up and it would hold this wall up? And I have tried that kind of thing because it seems just naturally, it seems like a good idea, but then they both fall because, you know, you've got to have one wall that's fairly stable before adding other walls, I've found. So maybe you're better at it. Now, if I got sick and tired of holding this, I could just find a box, maybe the box this came in, and prop it up. But I also need to press down a bit. And as you can tell, this is still wobbly. So I need to press down harder maybe. When I feel like this is just a little bit adhered, I can go to, and see that's adhered a little bit. Okay, and I should be able at this point begin to do the next one, this one. Now this one will glue to the back on the inside, and it just aligns with the floor, and that's great. So there's no complications there. It will go like this, and I'm just checking to make sure everything's great. So I'll put my glue I'm gonna put my glue, I hope that that is okay. I'm gonna put my glue along this wall, like so. I don't want too much, but I also don't want too little. I don't want too much because it'll just seep out, and then too little, it might not stick. Okay, so I need some there, and on the bottoms here. All right. I'll take this, follow my same guidelines of trying to line it up from the outside and then moving inside so that the glue stays in place. So I have a little bit of an adjustment here and here, and doing like that. Since that back wall is semi glued, then I can press in my corner. I don't want any gaps because then it'll look like my wallpaper was torn. I think this is wallpaper. Maybe this is supposed to be paint. I'm not sure. We're gonna change it. Let me do the rebuild. Now, something that could help me, but I cannot emphasize this enough. Do not, even though the next step they say is to glue this, don't do it. I'm going to show you something easier. But since it is going to be glued there, I can check and make sure that I have glued in such a way that this will fit. And it looks like there's a few adjustments here and there to be made. Okay, it's this one to out here. Might have been in more, but don't glue that down. Okay, just don't. I know they tell you to, that needs more glue, but don't. Got glue coming all over the place here. Walls can be difficult. So I need to get a little glue here without the wall falling down. Just go under here like this. check to make sure this will fit when it's time. It's going to be very tight. It looks like they want that really tight in there, and I know why, because it's the way they designed something, which you'll notice later. So I'm using this to help me to glue this. To turn this around, removing a little bit of extra glue there. And alright, so you see how that is. This back wall was slightly warped. It looks like the wood was. I'm not surprised. I mean, this is I don't know. This is a, I don't know. I mean, I won't say it's inexpensive, but it's not one of those $60 ones. So, and you know, the wood could be bad there too. Okay, so like I told you, do not glue this. Just let's carefully move this wall and floor, walls and floor, and save this for later. Okay, all right, so now what I need to do is I look and see what pieces it's asking me to find. So I look ahead, I've got an A10, 11 and 12, and then over here I have a 7, 9, 8, and so forth. So I look across. That means it's going to be in the bag that's labeled A, and I found that that was actually true. Sometimes it is not. But something that I would want to do as I pull those out, they're all beige, of a beige color. As I pull them out, I want to make sure that I go back to the list of pieces and just make sure that I have enough. So this one is very distinctive. I know it says one piece. Then, you know, I look at this right here, if I can get it. You know, I look at these and I'm like, oh, they're about the same size. And indeed, they are identical because it says there's 3 pieces here. Then I have one that's sort of a medium size, and it says there's only 1 piece, so I don't have to knock myself out thinking that there's more than one on that. I've done that before. Then you go ahead, you see these are very distinctive, and you should have 2 pieces. And then finally, you have 2 small pieces, and you have your lattice. Okay, these are also very distinctive. You know you need 2 pieces here and 1 here. So I went ahead and took those out, and I'm going to go back and look at what they say. So I'm not going to glue it to this. I don't want this glued to the rest of the house, and I'm not going to go ahead and glue this frame for the terrace to the tile. Okay, so the reason for that is it's going to be so much easier to work with this terrace if it's not adhered to something else. All right, not the tile yet, not the house yet, just this. Okay, so it tells me I need to go ahead, and it looks like I will have 2 identical sides. Of course, I'm going to move that. And I make sure I've got, you know, I need to go the same way. There's not a right and a wrong, I always have to check that because sometimes there are right and wrong sides. It's going to have me adhere these. Once again, I want to see, is it black on both sides? It is, so I don't need to turn this around or do any adjustments. I can do these identically. Also, you know, check and so forth, and I follow my instructions, and I know these need to be glued, so they just are glued just like that. So I'm going to do two things here. I'm going to make room to put these on the side so that I will have room to do some other things while this dries. Just put that along the edge. Kind of remove any bleed over carefully, because sometimes the black runs and black paint will come off. Well, any of the paints will, honestly. You know, they spray paint it, and they do generally one layer, so it's easy to come off. So I want to check because I made a little bit of a mess. So go on this side. I kind of doubt that the inside is really gonna show. So I'm gonna put this aside. I need room to work. Okay, so rinse and repeat here. Well, why don't we do it the same order? Blah, blah, blah. Okay. Do like that. Touch that up, press it in. Same thing here. And boom. I always have a roll of paper towel and toothpicks. Those are wonderful things. Oop. I wanted to check the other side. So this will actually be, you know, because it's going to go like that, right? This will be the right side, and that's nice and clean. Okay, so those can dry off to the side here. So the next thing that they tell me to do is to grab my 3 what are these? A7s. And they're going to go together like this, with this and this. So something I want to pay attention to is my wood goes flush with this, not like this. You know, you might think, well, that picture looks like it could go here, you know, or here because it's wider. But we know that it has to be that way because this side is that way. So we know this is off the ground. This is also off the ground, I mean, compared to the others. So, okay, I'm gonna really move those because I'm gonna need something here that is gonna help me. So I'm just gonna do actually this again this way, really quickly if I can. Adjust it here. So I did a video on a bird feeder, showing you how to do a bird feeder, and I think that when I go to tear this down, mostly, then I'll put up a bird feeder. But like in the part 1 video, I talked about right now I want to do my best to keep it the same. Just do it like they said. I'm not doing the instructions like they said by doing this separate, not gluing it to the side. So that is in need of a little holding for a sec. Holding that there. So while I wait for that, I'm going to go ahead. I want to leave that down, so I'm going to glue it this way. So this, when they have you build off of this with their kit, they show how this could be on a second floor, and then I keep calling it a balcony. It really would be a balcony, and it just sticks out from the side of the building. So one of the reasons I didn't have you glue that blue piece, it's supposed to be tile, I suppose. The reason I didn't have you go ahead and glue that, a second reason, I want to really make sure that I have these up against here, because this is kind of warped, and it's going to cause problems for me if this isn't perfect, like these aren't all lined up with each other. So I want to take the black part and push it against here, and then make sure the beige parts are up against the black part nicely, because these are really moving around a lot while I hold them. They're wobbly. So when I go to glue this to this piece, I want it to be nice, because otherwise it's going to stick out. There'll be things that stick out, or it just might not glue at all on one side. So I was saying about that blue while I hold this down. So this blue piece will actually stick up. It's not flush with the flooring. And the reason they did that is because you could put this on another floor and it would stick out kind of like a bay window. Now, I still think that they could have made that flush with the interior floor, but it just had something to do with the way they wanted to design it if it was on a second or third floor. So this Terrace comes with some acrylic, thin acrylic. It's probably not acrylic, come to think of it, but some thin plastic, clear plastic. And okay, I feel pretty good about that. I think it was really wavy. Okay, I feel pretty good about that. I have some clips that could be used to hold that. Not the small ones that I've used in other projects, but some bigger ones. But the thing is, they're too strong for this. If I tried to hold that with those clips, it would be no good. No good. Okay, so let's see what they say. I want to make sure I'm not messing this up. Yeah, the next step is not on that page. It's still on this page. So I have these fellas. So this is where I need to use my board. This is where I wanted some room. I want to pick a line. Okay, I'm going to place this. They want it in the middle, so I do need a little measuring tool, and I want to see, it's probably 5 and 5 on the outside, but let's see. No, definitely not. They want it, oh, it probably is even with this. I bet I don't even have to measure. Let's see how that works out. It's about 5.5, and that's more or less 5.5. So they want it in line with that. All right, so I'm going to place that down on, I'm picking a line here, and I'm picking a line here. And I have to scooch this down, right? Because it's got to be in alignment. And I want to kind of adjust appropriately. So before I get all crazy about that, I want to, all right, so I know this is going to go here. What I want to do is square this off. And I'm using my board to kind of help set that up. And then let me see if I can just make myself, I don't want to glue this yet, but I'm going to use, I'm not gluing this yet. I'm just using it to help me see if I can get this on here straight. See, if I don't square this, it's going to be hard to glue. Once again, it's like I was worried about this piece, right? I want to make sure it's all nice and even. Okay, that's looking pretty good. So gently, I'm going to take that away. And I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to have a little glue here, a little glue there, go back, put this here, and here. Holding everything down and square to the best of our ability. So, oops, using to keep this, so easy to become all wobbly, and then it won't glue very nicely. I'm gonna get ready to do that. It'll be all nice and neat. Didn't say it was going to be easy. I made no promises about that. Okay, so we can hold this in here, double check how square it is. Should be, because my mat should be marked nicely. So, okay, so we really have to hold that because there's only 2 spots here to be glued. All right, so we're gonna hold that there for a little bit longer. And I'm looking ahead, and I have pulled the plants we need. So I double checked, and there's 2 of these big viney ones. And then we have 2 purples and a pink. And I think there's 1 purple that's slightly darker. Yeah, it's a little darker. And so if I look at my instructions, oh, and warning, those shed nonstop. It looks like maybe the lighter one is the one I'm cutting up first. And that's still wobbly. But I'm not going to worry about it because I'm going to glue the other part really quickly here. So I'm going to look ahead and double check. It really does not matter. But I guess for the balcony so far, we want the lighter one. So I just went into my bag full of foliage. It was C, labeled C, and I pulled those out for us. So we'll need these right here. Okay, meanwhile, let's see what we can do. These pieces are nice. This should be ready to go. And we want to pay attention, once again, to the joints, the way that these go. All right. So the A10s, all right, shows me, and the A7 goes to the inside. So our A7, which is still wobbly, we are noticing, and I bet that's not gonna be quite okay yet. So I'm just gonna actually leave that flat, and I'm going to do this flat. Since both sides are the same, that is a possibility. Otherwise it wouldn't be. So I'm double checking my seams. I want to make sure that this is how it fits together, or it won't fit on the side of the building correctly. And that looks good. So it looks like, because I want to leave this one down. And see, yeah, never mind. I'll mention things later. I want to look at where I'm gluing, because I can't really lift that. So I'm looking to glue on this, and I'm looking to see where I begin and end. And it looks like a little more. Looks like, first of all, I'm going to need to clean that off. Looks like if I do it like that, it's a lot of glue. It's a lot more glue than I need. Sounds like a job for a toothpick. It's always a job for a toothpick. Okay. All right, let's get this other one on as quickly as possible. Because we've got some serious wobble. And the thing is, I don't want this right in here to completely dry, because then I can't make any adjustments if needed, which they are definitely needed, right? So, okay, this side, same thing. Double check. Kind of like for my tacky glue to be almost like partially dried, because then your wood is a lot easier to deal with. It obviously dries faster. So I think this is dry enough. And when I was drying this, you know, I had to sort of hold some things in place. And then I showed you with the wall that you could take a straight edge and put it up against here. And I just took the next piece we're going to use and put it up against here. And it just kind of helps to keep everything square, so that, you know, the idea is that when we hold this up, any piece of furniture that has, particularly this, you know, is very important to holding this whole thing together. I mean, if this were a house, you know, something like that we call a load-bearing, you know, piece of wood, you know, the keeping this square and looking good is very much dependent upon this. So you might notice I have a little bit of glue here and there because I was gluing this way. So I can take a Q-tip with very little water, just barely damp, and I can knock some of that off. I can sort of pull some of that off. I don't want to do it a lot because, as I was saying, this paint is thin, and if I'm not careful, I'll pull the paint off. So I had some in here I already cleaned up, and right here, you know, there's a little bit. Some of this might not even be showing up on camera, but I have a really big piece right here that I can kind of remove here and there, a little bit here. So I can be as much of a perfectionist as I want, just with a barely damp Q-tip in there. Same thing in here, obviously, but I don't think it's going to show at all. So, okay, their instructions are ridiculous. Let me show you why. If we were to do this the way that they say on page 6, they would say, now keep in mind, I told you, don't adhere this, okay? They would have this, you know, that would have been glued down. They would have wanted you to take this, put it on, glue it to the blue part, okay, and glue it to the building, right? And, you know, hold that on there. Then adhere this to the top, you know, of that, and you would have to hold all this together, right? And hold it until it glued really well. There's no other way to get around that, right? To hold all of that together. Then, get this. So this blue part, there's a, like, this part is off the ground. I don't know if you can see this. It's off the ground. And the only thing I can think of is because of, I think I mentioned, you know, you could have more than one level. And so maybe they did that for some reason, maybe that you could put something in these notches. Okay, but if you have this as your bottom floor, then you have something just sticking out right there. There's a gap right there. And so you're supposed to glue this on, not hit that by accident, right? Glue this, okay, holding all that together. And then get this. Our next step would be to put all of the weight on this blue thing and this to get these vines and so forth glued in there. Now, I'm not saying that's impossible. You know, if I did all of that and I wanted to waste my time, I hope that this is something that you can see what I'm talking about. So I glue that on, right? And then I can use my tweezers or something and hold that in there, but I'm still putting a lot of weight on this to tip it. And look, so, I mean, maybe that's not a problem for you to then get all of that foliage in there, but I want to do as much of the foliage as I can before I go and adhere this to the side. I just don't, I don't like the idea of doing that the way they said. And I'm fussing with this and pulling the sides loose a bit. But anyway, so the way I'm going to do it, because I just don't like that idea with this hanging off of here, is I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to do this flat. And I could adhere this if I want ahead of time, and that would be okay. But I don't need to. I think this will be okay. What they have you do, you know, they do have a vine that runs up onto the roof, it looks like, if we look carefully. And these are situations where it just looks, it's very difficult to see. I think there is a vine that maybe runs up onto the roof part. Let me see here. Is there a good picture? Not really. Not really a very good picture showing me where those vines would be. Not really. And they have the vines coming into the living room. That's just weird. So yeah, so I'm looking at this and I'm thinking I can do most of this, yeah, before I glue that on to the building. Yeah, so, okay. So since there are some vines, it looks like I do need this for, I am going to have to go ahead and glue this part on. I would kind of rather not, honestly, but I've got to do what I've got to do so I can run those vines up there. Now, in my opinion, this is a design flaw right here. You see that gap between the top and this bar? That's just one of those. This is still a little bit damp, pulling that apart. I don't like that gap, but it's not going to show. It's just somebody's lack of attention to detail. Because I don't think we're running anything on the outside. I've looked ahead on this and it didn't look like it to me. So at any rate, oh gosh, this side was still kind of wet. I didn't wait long enough. So I need to, well, I'm gonna have to wait for this. So this part is going to be flush to the wall. See, that will be where you glue this part to the wall. So that means what I need to do when I glue this, and that side's more gnarly, so I'm going to put this one on the outside. And so what I will do is just put my glue here, and I don't need to put anything here. So I can just glue along this way, pull some of this out of the way, and do like that. Okay, so then I'm going to glue this, centering this on. This one was definitely not dry. I can check my work by putting this on the side and seeing if it's lined up here and here. I don't know if you see what I'm looking at. I'm looking at this. Can you imagine trying to do that? You'd have to, anyway, I'll let it go. Trying to make sure this bar is in alignment with what is the top, and that this side right here is butted up to the edge. And this is why I don't use super glue for something like this. Because meanwhile over here, this one's coming undone. So I'm going to do something that I do sometimes, and that is sort of let that tacky glue get a little bit more tacky and look ahead of what they want me to do with these. There seems to be a right and a wrong side. So I guess the shiny part is the right side, but the vines are all interwoven, so I imagine you can always fix that later. So they're going to have me trim these, and they show in the picture these little tiny scissors, and it's like they think all the vines are going to have the same little limbs or sprouts or whatever coming out the side, but they are kind of showing that you're going to cut off a lot of these fronds until you get a pretty bare vine, and you're going to have some clumps here, okay, where you have like maybe 2 fronds, 1, 2, and I don't know, that might be 3. And they label them. You know, you've got C29, 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5. So you know that's how many you want. They're probably going to match them up here. Yep. you do kind of the same thing over here. And they tell you there are 3 pieces that you're going to use for something else. And I think those are those creeper vines that come into the house. It's very Little Shop of Horrors, if you ask me. But let's go ahead and see. My tacky glue has had a little time to get tackier. And I'm going to run this along what I was saying. Yeah, that's going to be easier this time around. I want to align everything. That tacky glue is perfect. Aligning it. I can remove some of it, as a matter of fact. Here, aligning. I'm going to push this different directions for you. I'm aligning here and here. Looks like I do need to hold that down over here at least. So, because this part, this gets glued, these do at least, to the walls. So I don't want this roof to go beyond that. I don't want that to happen. Okay. And I gotta say that's turned out fairly well. It looks like it's a challenging furniture and walls like such as this. It's challenging to get everything square, you know, so that when I'm done gluing all this together, that this supporting pole looks like it's straight up and down, you know, that everything will align properly, like in here. Just do the best you can on that. Let your tacky glue get a little bit tackier like I did, and I like that once I get everything the way I want it, and I know that I can just stick it down and everything is nice. So yeah, that could use a little adjustment though. I'm just seeing little things that here and there. And those will, when I go to actually stick this to the side of the building, those little things that I'm seeing here and there won't even be an issue. Okay. All right. So gently, because some things are still drying a little bit. Let's go ahead and cut these. I've got to laugh. The way they want us to cut this is just funny to me. As if everything has the same number. All right, so let's pay attention to what they want. They'd like just 2 or so. Well, it looks like we can leave maybe this part. There are little leaves in here. Looks like they want this. They want, okay, they want this cut off. And that looks like it would be maybe number 5, or could be used for number 5. I'll put that up there. Number 5 is the largest, the highest number. So then I want to kind of cut down. Let's see here. They would like me to cut off a frond that has 2. So here's one here. It has 2 on it. And that is number 4. Number 3 just has 1 frond. And let's see, they just want a little bit down here. So I think that's for that one. there's something hanging off the bottom here. I don't want that. See, the wrong side, if I follow along with this, looks like I would take this one off, and maybe that's 2. So 5, 4, 3, 2. This is the first one, and they don't want a lot at the top. So, but that's going to look weird. They want this gone, but I don't know what that's used for. They do want this gone, thank goodness. So I've got a few sprouts. I've got something here. Of course, it curves. I want it curved like this. That's for something to worry about later. So this is fine. And then, so I'm trying to figure out how many fronds they want. I don't want to take this one off the top, but I'll take this one off. I'm just using my judgment about what'll kind of look natural. And I think, you know, that needs to come off the top. Let's see where they want this one. C29-1. So C29-1 is here. So they want that really short. They want it to go like that. Okay, well, then this will need maybe to go. I think it does. Really, to be honest with you, I think we could cut this here. Just doing a little pruning, nothing to worry about there. A little pruning. Since I know what I'm doing with this, I'm going to go ahead and, yeah, it doesn't want this, which makes sense because there's an awful lot. I don't want to cut that little leaf off there. Okay, so if you look at the picture and if you can see what's happening here, I'm going to go ahead and stick this here with the end, just has the little sprouts, and that's going to be okay. And they want this to stick here and here, and I think this is where I will feel pretty confident using some super glue. I know I'm not the most confident person with super glue, but I think we're going to be okay here. Hopefully this, good. So I'm going to go ahead and put some down here. Begin adhering this so it just sort of comes out of the bottom. Do not worry about it, Melissa. Just adhere the... Sometimes I just don't know, folks. Like, how does that just come out of the bottom? How does it not have like a little pot or something? I mean, this is... This is an enclosed area, because you actually put a piece of plastic, I was saying earlier. So the Even the super glue is giving me a hard time. Doesn't really want to stick in that corner here. And it may be that it just won't stick quite in the corner. I may have to just stick it to the side. I don't know how much you can see this. I'm trying. Trying to just get that somehow in the corner so that it'll look natural would be nice. It's a little rough because the pieces are pushing back. Let's see. I feel like it might have stuck. Nope. Well, okay, let me see here. Let's do some problem solving. Let's trim off these. And now maybe I can get that to adhere. I don't even want these little niblets here at the end. Try to get rid of those. Of course, it'll stick to my skin. What the actual heck? So, all right, let's try this again. We've got this little leaf guy. I know better than doing this over my project. I had to replace an entire window because I held the super glue over my project and it splattered everywhere. And super glue, as I've said many times in other videos, will fog plastic and acrylic, which is what's used by them quite frequently for windows. So as soon as it did that, it marked everything up and clouded it. And I was displeased. And yet I went and held that over this project, which wouldn't be as big of a deal because it's not acrylic. But still, I would have spots. All right, I think I'm having some luck, especially with gluing that down there, that leaf down. I think that's really helping out a lot. I don't like getting super glue on my tweezers, but I guess it's better than my fingers. Jury's out on that. Okay, now let's see if I can get this to stick. I think this won't be a problem up here. This corner, I can't do it precisely the way that they suggest. I don't know. I'm going to just try maybe putting a little bit of glue on the back of this leaf and see if that'll work. I think it might. See what I'm doing here. I just can't get that vine nicely in the corner. But it's growing out of nowhere anyway, so I don't know why I bother. It's like a weird mystery vine that just comes up on a balcony. You know, this can be a balcony. It's not, it doesn't have to be in fact, it's not a patio because it doesn't have any contact with the ground. It sticks up. So we're gonna glue leaves. Looks like the gluing of the, primarily gluing leaves brings success. Now, you notice I'm not going to glue this top part because that looks more organic, that the vine just sort of comes up, you know, because it just would grow that way. It wouldn't grow, it would grow and maybe twist around. So this is requiring some hold time. All right, let's look at what is next. So, let me see here. Some more, some more mystery vines. What is up with this? This is so weird. It's just weird. There's vines that are just coming out of the ceiling here. Or, well, I guess it's not really the ceiling, but I guess maybe that's supposed to be the vines coming in from outside the, what they call the terrace. I don't know. I'm not having luck with these super glue experiences here today. Trying to just do the leaves. That was successful before. I'm gonna have to use the finger to hold that down. Not the finger you're thinking about. I know that. Okay, so I finally just gave up and I decided that I should just find my clips and hold it down, hold the vine down with the super glue and the clips. Okay, so I can remove those, that's good to go. And the next thing that we're doing, I've got this laid out now for ease. And so this one was actually your C29-1. Then we have 2, 3, 4, and 5. And so we can go ahead and do 2. And once again, I'm just going to use a little bit of super glue here. And it looks like we just have this kind of coming out, right? I'm going to be putting it right here in that corner. And I guess putting the super glue on here is the best way to do this. Let's see how that works. If it'll stay flat, because they want it to kind of look like it's draped over this direction, but I don't think that's actually going to work with the way that these plastic vines are made. So I think the best we're really going to be able to do is to take a clip and clip it down in the corner there to the best of our ability. And that's going to take a little effort because, let's see about that. If you can get that in the corner, that would be great. But they want it draped. That's another thing. That may require gluing in 2 different spots, it looks like, to get that to really look okay. These are still mystery vines, if you ask me. They come out of nowhere. Okay, so then you have C29-3. And this is where, you know, I promised I was going to do this as closely as possible to the way that they ask for it, so that if you're doing this and you don't want to make a lot of changes, you don't want to do that yet, that I can just show you step by step. But the problem is here, I just can't bring myself to glue this thing like that. They want this glued, in fact, they want it glued this direction like that. But it's just so unrealistic. I mean, it's not even coming from the outside. It's just literally glued on the top there. And it'll have these little flowers on it. And I can't think of the name of the flower that they're trying to imitate here. But nevertheless, that's just, I can't bring myself to do that. It just doesn't, It's just ridiculous, in my opinion, to just glue that on there randomly. So we're going to move on from that. This one, it's C29-4 is actually supposed to be glued to the outside. So when we put this like this and we attach it to the side of the building, then this would hang down inside like that. So I actually have to wait on that, and that's still ridiculous, but I can deal with that. Okay, but so this one, you know, you may want to take this and mark it. In fact, I may do that, and mark it with some tape or something like that. I'm trying to see if I have tape handy, but I do not. And this one would be your C29-4. This would be what you put on the inside. So I'm going to place that over there and hopefully remember what number that is. So then if we go on to our next one would be C29-5. And so that one just goes up here in this corner. So we've got a little twinsies. So this one, the way that this plastic is bent, I think this one will be easier to get in there because it's bent in the right direction. And then I just need another little clip here and get this to clip this way maybe. And then we've got to go after this, after I can get this clipped properly here. Yeah, that's not too bad. That's fairly easy to do. Just wanted these vines, if we're going to make them look semi-realistic, they've got to go right up in these corners really well. And okay. So we need to now begin cutting this other piece. So there's this other big vine, and we need to cut this one before we go on to, let me see here. We have C29-6 coming up next. So, all right. So they show us with this other one that what we want to do is we want to trim, it looks like here. Okay, we want to trim that. And it looks actually like we would be trimming a little more than that, but let's just go with what they say here first. And it looks like we're going to need this one off. Okay. And it looks like this one. Okay, here's another one comes off. It's going to be very similar to the other side, as a matter of fact. And so we're just going to kind of replicate that. Both of these come off down here, and we go on up, and then we have these little bit here, a little bit there. We've got a vine here that we can that can remain. However, or a tendril, I mean. I think it looks like that one can remain, but this one we want to get rid of, but not the leaf, just this. I want you to keep the leaf, this little sprout, it looks like. This has got to be lightened in some way. It's not supposed to be that much. So we're going to trim. We're going to trim this guy off the top, just the top, like that. Okay, now it's starting to look a little bit more like what they say. Now, the way they illustrate this, I think we can take this off at the top. It's not supposed to be quite that tall. And trim that a little bit better. And let me see here. I think we still have a lot of fronds compared to what they want. Let me see what this looks like in here before I cut too much off. It's best. What it is it's supposed to be a little taller than that, but I want to make sure that I don't cut too much off And, okay, so they're saying that we can leave. Let's see how this would glue. Well, first of all, let's just take this nodule thing off. We don't want that to show. They show leaving that, but I'm not going to leave that. That's silly. So we're going to, okay, so this is kind of how it would look. It's going to be about like so. Scooch this down. And I mean, I don't have a problem with a few extra fronds. The picture shows that this should kind of go up on here. And I guess if I hadn't cut that bottom part, that would work. But I don't want that big bulb. I don't want that big bulb. So this will go up somewhat on here. The way that they have this is it's wavy. So we're going to need to really do, yeah, this is still going to work. But we're going to have to take this off. So this tendril, so it's going to look very naked there on that side, but that's the way that it's going to work best. So if this has dried, that is going to help a lot. Okay, I believe it has. Well, not quite. That's okay. I'm going to clip it on this side though. See if I can get this to clip in a different way. It does. Because we have to make this wavy looking. So what we're going to do to make that happen, there's a couple of things. We're going to cut off, okay, so if I hold it this way, the back, and the reason I'm doing that, and I can even make that smooth if we want. The reason I'm doing that is this has to be glued in the corner, like the other one, but it's also going to wave like this. It's going to bend. They actually suggest going this way first and then all the way up. And yeah, I think that actually to do this, we're going to need to do something else here because we have a lot of foliage right here in the corner. I hesitate to take this one off, but something needs to come off. I think this is going to have to come off. But see, that makes that stick out in a weird way. Let me see, what would I prefer? Let's see what this would look like. Okay, if we do as they say, we get this in the corner like so, then we want to wave it out of the building and then up, and it should curl up here a little bit. So that's a lot of foliage in the corner. I hate to do it, but I think this one's just going to have to come off. And be careful when you cut it, because we want this one to try to look natural, and it's not the greatest having to cut that off. Try to make that look a little bit like a leaf there. And now we take out some of that bulk, and we should be able to do what they're asking for. I'm going to get this to kind of wobble better. Get that to bend. There's no wire or anything in here. I'm just doing this so that to take some of that stiffness out of it. Make it easier to clip and everything else. So, okay, so that being said, since I trimmed the back here, I should be able to just glue in my corner here. Glue kind of in the corner. Oh, I did something that I usually try not to do, and that is with the super glue, I usually try to test it on a piece of paper. Like, make sure that the glue is at the very tip, because if you don't do that on a piece of paper or a paper towel, What has happened to me before is that the glue wasn't already at the top. I went to squeeze that and it came splattering out of it. And I happened to be gluing something that was right next to some acrylic. And this just went all over the acrylic and there's nothing you can do. Absolutely nothing you can do. I was not happy because I actually was, I'm such a perfectionist that I removed all of the acrylic in that model and just started over again with the acrylic. And that I was not pleased about that because I was almost finished. It was a skylight. So, learn from me. I should learn from me as well. So this needs to stay in that corner. So that's what I'm doing, is trying to get that to go on down and have some kind of natural place to stop. Grab some more of these and go ahead and see how I can clip this in a good way. That might be the best I can do there. So then this has to twist slightly. And we would want to then, we want to twist this a little. And so we're going to want to glue here. I'm going to have it glue right underneath this part of the plant. And that way it'll kind of look like it's crawling up this side. Okay. Grab another one of these. And so about like that. Hopefully my clip, I'm hoping the clip will work. Okay, it is. The clip is holding that. All right, then this is going to go up like so. And it's actually going to go up on to this. You know, what they've done here, and they want glass to go over the outside of this, and yet they have us put all these vines, and the glass, the piece of thin acrylic isn't actually going to go up against that well. I was looking ahead in the instructions, and they want to enclose this all in glass, or acrylic, so it looks like glass. And the problem with that is these vines stick out over the edge. So anyway, I'm putting some glue here. So when we get there, long story short, we're not going to be able to put this on there very well. It's going to be really a hassle. But this is how they're telling us how to do it. And so when we get to that, I'm going to do, I'm going to look into it beforehand and really kind of practice that before I try to show you how to do it. I'm going to come up with some sort of problem solving for that before we just go and just do it. Because I'm trying to do this in just as if I, to follow their instructions exactly. And their instructions, see what's happening here, You can tell, look at the side there. If I'm supposed to put some acrylic on that, and yet I'm gluing this the way that they tell me to glue it in the picture, because if you look carefully, all I'm doing is I'm adhering this pretty much the same way they did. Now, I cut that bulb off the bottom, so I wasn't able to just run this up all the way up like that. But the thing is, that's easily fixed. If I really decided that I want that to go all the way up, it's no big deal. When this is dry, I just take an extra piece like this one, and I can tuck that in underneath there in a creative manner. And when that's dry, I could actually show you and make it look natural and just keep going up there. And it's like not a big deal at all. So that's going to have to really stay and dry. And I bet you that might even need to be dry or glued again. I'm hoping this one is dry though, because we need to do some things in that corner, I think. Yeah, you can tell. I don't know if I've talked about this before, but super glue will cloud acrylic. So when I was working next to that acrylic, then that model I was talking about, I had to be very careful about using super glue at all near that, because it's the fumes will actually just cloud that. And you can tell using this to hold on the super glue, that's exactly what's happened here. So if you didn't believe me, if you doubt it, there's the proof. Okay, so now we have some more pieces and parts here that we need to look at. Some of these pieces and parts, we're going to have to attach this to the side of building first, as I was saying. But let's go ahead and move on to the ones we can do. All right, so if we go here, what they're telling us in our little pile of stuff is they want us to have a piece that curls this way, and that looks like what they want for a C29-7. That looks about right. They want a 2-fronder, or no, that's actually 3 fronds for C29-8. All right, we'll call it that one. Then for C29-9, the instructions say to keep that one and use it later. Okay, well, 2 of them. That one, and I guess it could be either of these. Well, you know, honestly, I keep everything anyway. So let's just take those. And that's C29-9, C29. We need a C29-11 that we don't touch. And the C29-11 needs to be perhaps, well, they want a 3-fronder, but there aren't 3 fronds left to do for that. Well, we are not going to worry about that. This one is C29-10. That's what we're going to call this one. Let's check and see where C29-10 would actually appear. C29-10. We've got... Well, that's odd. I don't see C29-10 in the diagram. Here's 6, 7, 5, 3. Oh, here it is. Right here. It is attached. Okay, so C29-10. Let's look over here and see what the best size is actually going to be, because they want 2 fronds, but we can always make 2 fronds. It's supposed to come out. I don't know if I have this all in the way. Supposed to come out like this. Like so. So we need to decide, do we want it to be that big or do we want it to be smaller? I think that try to seek when we set this up what will look good for the composition. I'm leaning toward maybe something more like this for the composition aspect. Yeah, I'm leaning more toward that. I think that looks better. So I would use one of the fronds This is the one that I'm using. I don't know how exacting these vines are when you buy yours, if they're the same thing. I kind of doubt it, but I'm going to use one that's got a nice S curve to it. So that's actually what I'm going to put there. Okay, so that being said, I think all of these little niblets over here, we can just keep for later. So I'm just going to push that up the way here. And that means that I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to glue, I'll just go ahead and glue that C2910. And I'm going to glue a little bit here. See if that will stick. I don't think I put enough on there. We're going to put a little here. And that'll go there. And then let's see here. I think I need my tweezers here in a minute. Yeah, but I need to figure out where I'm gonna glue this. I'm gonna make my life easier, and I'm just gonna clamp that. I'm gonna clip that down, and I can still move it. So I want this to be a nice corner. I want this to come out of the corner nicely. Okay. And then I want it to nicely come across here. Yeah, clipping this is rough because of where it is. Trying to clip this makes it stick up. That is not how I would like things to go. I want this to attach here like so. Maybe if I try the other way around. Try it this way. I'm running out, or my glue is starting to dry. Okay, I'm gonna try doing it this way. I think it'll work fine. Except my glue is drying. All right, we'll see. We can glue this. All right, how did I like it? I liked it this way. So I can do like so. Clip this little guy. Alrighty. That's cool. We'll see if that stays. So, all right, so there's your, I went ahead and I jumped ahead, and we have these. I was jumping ahead here to C10. We need to go ahead and do, we've got C, let's see, we've got this one. We've got this guy, and let's see where they want that to go. Oh, yeah, okay. So C29-7 is like this one. I think it's what I chose for this one. And that one goes on the side of the building as well. So we put this over here with C29-4. So we have 4 and 7 to attach to the building later. So let's see, is that it for these? Let's look at the picture and see. This one, oh, there's C29-8. Wow, they have several. Okay, it was this one. So C29-8 is also attached. So that one is also attached, it looks like, to the building, the other side of the building. All right, so let's see if we have these, though. Got this is there. We have this one. There'll be one attached to the building. We come down here. That's the one I didn't like, so I'm not going to do it. Then we come up here, and there's one that is attached to the building. We go back here, and here's the one that should go here. Then if we go over here, we have this vine, as well as one that was in the corner behind it that I have the clear clip here. So I think we're good on that, because we have 3 pieces that get to the side of the building. Okay, that being said, all right, now, so let's move on to the flower things. So we have pink and we have purple, and it looks like we actually have 2 different colors of purple. Now, I don't know that that matters at all. Let's look and see. They only have 1 color purple here. Okay, let me flip through this without it being annoying. I'm going to flip through it up here and see what they say. Okay, I don't know that that really matters. You decide. It's up to the builder. You decide whatever color you want. If you want the dark purple out here, great. If you want the light purple, that's fantastic. I'm going to kind of make a decision based on how this looks to me. And I think that I'm going to go ahead and I want the contrast. I've decided I want the contrast between the dark purple and the pink. It really doesn't matter. This one will be for a potted plant later. So it'll get used. This is just your choice, whatever you want to do. So let's pull this out of the way, and then we're going to look at what they have to say here. So these, I guarantee you from experience, I have figured out, I've found out that these little pieces might come off of here quite a bit. This doesn't seem as bad, but the ones, you can get this type of thing at the dollar store, and those things shed so badly, though. So at any rate, what they're saying is we want to kind of cut, we want to keep this end. We want to go, looks like about like so. I'm going to go a little up because I know what we're doing with this. Let's go ahead and do here. Oh, wow, that might need, that's a little harder than I thought. Okay, there's that. And it looks like the next one should be approximately that size, about like so. And then we are supposed to keep this for later use. Now I'm going to pull this up here and look at something closer. Are they trying to tell us to cut this? No, it looks like we're fine. These 2 are larger. This gets saved for later. It's going to go up there. Then the purple one, they want us to make several cuts on this one as compared to the pink. So the purple gets the tip, the very tip taken off of it here. Looks like that's going to be a very small cluster of buds. So we have a small one there. Then we have 2 that should be approximately the same size, which looks to be the size of 2 of these. So we're going to go ahead and do that. Put them about the same size. I imagine it doesn't matter all that much. So we have this and this, and then they would like us to cut down here. So that one looks particularly long. I think it'll probably have to be cut again, but in essence the pieces would look like this. And they don't say anything about keeping this stuff, but it's actually these leaves are plastic, And so therefore I might keep them because they're not paper. That can come in handy for something. So I'm going to keep that as a good pack rat should. You never know when these things will be useful. I mean, let's face this. All right, so now we're just going to go in. We're going to glue these. I would, of course, as usual, prefer to use tacky glue, but I've learned my lesson. Only issue with this is they might not adhere with super glue either. And the clamps might squish this too much because these are just little pieces of styrofoam. So I got to look into where they want us to put this. So they are, let's put this back out. They're labeling that one C25 1 and looks like C25 2. So let's check it out here. These go, let me see here, C25 1, this one, goes up here in this corner, which I'm not sure if this is dry yet. We're going to find out. Oh, maybe. Maybe not. This one would go here, it looks like. Now, see, I know that would go kind of like so. Now, if this were to be done properly, the way that a plant would grow, the cluster of buds here, the pointy end should go down. So I might be able to get this in that corner and clip it without ruining it. I'm going to pull this close again and see what's going on here. They actually show a piece of purple as well coming out underneath that. So let's see something here. I apologize. I have to pull this up so I can see it under the microscope. Magnifying glass, I mean. Okay, oh gosh, they have no idea how plants grow. They have it going this way. Oops, see that it wasn't dry. And it really ought to go down because if these would be heavier. You know, these buds would be pretty heavy, as large as they are. And they're trying to say they would grow this direction, which I'm just very skeptical about. Skeptical that that would grow in that direction. Okay. Well, enough about that. This one is not dry, so I am going to do something that I think will help it dry, and that is glue it a little differently from what I had before. This I need to glue here. So let's get this a lot of area to glue this time. It just wasn't enough. Just doesn't want to clip well in this corner. And it needs to be right up in that corner. I'm going to clip here as well. It's not going to clip there. All right. Good enough. Let's see about this one. Nope. Not yet. Super glue's taking a little longer to dry than I would like. Doesn't seem very super gluey to me. Okay, well, see, down here doesn't even matter. I'm testing that, and that doesn't matter. I need a vine that we can attach some flowers to. All right, well, let's go over on the other side. They would like one of these to kind of come down out of this corner. And that is huge, as I thought it might be. So we're going to trim that a little bit. Let's see what would go well, about like so. And that they actually have growing properly, which would be with the pointy end down. And we're going to go ahead and see how this reacts to being clipped. It may not be great. I'm going to go ahead and apply it on the petals, or if these are supposed to be grapes. Kind of forget what this is. I lived in the South for a short period of time, and I think people in the South grow these, you know, just like this, you know, in patios. I can't for the life of me remember. See, that is going to squish that, and I do not want it squishing it. So this is going to be a matter of kind of holding it, but it feels like it's actually it's going to glue okay. Yeah, I squished it. And now I don't like the way it looks either. So we're going to see what can be done here. I'm going to trim that off. It's not going to be as long, but I don't like that it's squished. So yeah, so anyway, I don't remember what this plant is called. It's really pretty. And it does grow like this, and the blooms on it do hang. They hang down. They're very heavy, and they hang down. And I'll have to look that up because I have seen this plant. It's gorgeous. You know, so with this coming out, kind of the way that they have that coming out, may require that I do some trimming and some adjusting. They want that to be in the corner like that. But then they also have this a little bit different from the way that I glued it. And I think with this being in the corner, this really ought to be a little shorter, I think. You know, or this vine. Because this would hang, I don't know, maybe I could do, I'm afraid if I shorten that, it's not going to look right. Okay, I'll figure something out later about that to where I'm happier with the way that that hangs. Okay, some of the pink, all right, moving along, some of the pink, actually, this one is supposed to be C2. It was cut from the middle. And this one is supposed to hang from the building. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to find the frond that they want hanging from the building, which is C29.4. And I'm going to go ahead and I think if I do this the way that they're saying, the fronds would come in front and the blossoms would hang on the outside like so. Nah, I'm not going to do that ahead of time. Anyway, okay. So that goes over there on in the pile of things that get attached to the building. What else gets attached to the building? Okay, we have that part. I'm not doing the middle part, so that goes with that. This is not quite adhered, so we have some flowers that go here and here. But unfortunately, I just don't think that these are stuck down enough. Let's see. Oh, that's stuck down enough. This one gets a purple flower, and it's, if we really want to do what they say, then it should be this one, I think is the 3. And so, let's see what we can do to make this look real. I really want to remove some of these buds so that this looks the right shape. We can trim. It's a little bit better. It's a little bit more conical. I can hang it that way. Yeah, that's what we'll do. We'll hang that from the corner. Looks like that'll work fine. If we do like that, put a super glue on that. And we need to get to the potted plants. I may just go fast forward to the potted plants. Turn this slightly to make it look like it's coming out of that. I'll futz with that later. I don't know if, let's see, we don't need it here. We need it up in here, but this is not dry. But I might be able to just glue it on top. This one gets pink. And I think I can just glue that right on top. There's a lot going on in that corner. So I'm just going to put it right in there, and I don't think it's going to matter if you put this, I'm doing what I said I shouldn't do. If you get this just right, because there are a lot of leaves up in here. And so I think that anything, if you don't like how you did it, it can be very easily fixed and adjusted. Unless the fronds come off. Which I don't think they will. I think it'll be like so. And that, when I unclip all that, that should look pretty natural in that corner. It should be. This one, let me see here. What else do we need? Now, that's it, and we can go on to the next plant. We can go to the, let's see, there's some potted plants and whatnot. Let's get this out of the way. And this can dry.